Tornado warning. All right, we're back, everyone. Tornado warning now issued for southern parts of Caddo Parish. We are seeing a little bit of a spin up here approaching I-49 along the Caddo and DeSoto Parish line. Tornado warning has just been issued. Let's zoom in a little closer with meteorologist Matt Jones. You can see the rotation showing up here. Looks like it has now crossed I-49. Again, reminding you what the color scheme represents here. Green is blowing towards the radar, red is blowing away. So in the vicinity here of I-49, just south of the Southern Loop, out towards Southern Trace Parkway, seeing the possibility of a tornado here. Matt's going to go ahead and track this out for us. We're going to track this area again just near the Southern Loop, moving its way off to the north and to the east. So this is going to be tracking through parts of extreme southeast Shreveport into the South Bossier area. These are just some of the little communities here showing up. Naylor, Gales, Mayers, and Lagos. That's where it's going to be tracking. So just outside of the major populated areas here in Shreveport and Bossier City, but very, very close. Matt, let's zoom in a little closer. I want to take a look at the debris tracker as well, see if we're seeing anything indicative of a tornado on the ground here, and at least at this point, no. But as we go back and we take a look at the wind velocity, we are still seeing circulation showing up here. I will say it's not particularly concentrated in one area, but again, tornado warning is in effect here with some embedded rotation with this storm. Another tornado warning now going to be coming out in northern Claiborne Parish. So we've got two. If you're here near Southern Loop, out towards Southern Trace, Long Lake Drive here in the southeastern tip of Caddo Parish, you need to be seeking shelter for the possibility of a tornado just off to the southeast of Shreveport and a little south of the South Bossier area. Another tornado warning, though, has just been issued. You can see the storm there, but let's take you into Claiborne Parish. We've got another tornado warning that is coming out here. Northern Claiborne Parish. So this is not going to be in Claiborne Parish very long. This is a little east of Haynesville. But Matt, let's go ahead and just get a quick look here there in Claiborne Parish, east of Haynesville, with, again, another tornado warning that's going to be coming out for that storm. I want to show folks exactly where that rotation is. I think it's pretty close here to the Arkansas border. There's your new tornado warning. Again, northern parts of Claiborne Parish, but this is going to be moving out of the parish very shortly and into Union County, Arkansas, which is out of our coverage area. Quick look at the wind velocity will kind of pinpoint where the rotation is, right along LA 161, again, east of Haynesville. So if you're in this part of extreme northern Claiborne Parish, head to your shelter. This, though, is going to be leaving our coverage area within the next few minutes on into Union County there in southern Arkansas. So, Matt, let's go back to our other tornado-warned storms. We've had two tornado warnings that have come out here just in the last couple of minutes. Southern parts of Caddo Parish is where we are seeing, again, a little bit of spin that has showed up along this line of storms. And I mentioned earlier in our coverage that as this became more of a line, we could get these little spin-ups, and that's what we're seeing here along the line. If you notice this little kink here, this kind of almost looks like a little curlicue here approaching I-49, and the radar may be slightly old because the velocity is well ahead. Sometimes that happens, and I know they're also doing some maintenance on the radar in Shreveport. We do have it up and running, but sometimes the rainfall pattern, there we see it's caught up, showing, again, this little area east of this 49 symbol. Matt, let's zoom in a little closer, and I'll pinpoint exactly where this is and why it looks this way. Got just a little bit of rotation right here. And if you notice, kind of a little hook, little appendage here. Sometimes the reason this happens is you get some wind coming out of the storm itself, and as it rushes out, starts to curl back a little bit into the wind blowing into the storm. So we've got just a small area rotation here. And when we talk about these quick spin-up little tornadoes along lines of storms, this is what they very often look like on radar. So that's what we've got here. Just a little east of the Southern Loop exit there off of I-49, far south Shreveport. Again, Long Lake Drive is where this is approaching. Matt, let's zoom in a little closer. I want to bring up some additional streets in this extreme part of southeast Caddo Parish. It is moving through a neighborhood right now. Southern Trace is where this is moving in, also near the village of Providence here off of the Southern Loop. So you need to be in your shelter in these areas for, again, the possibility this may produce a tornado in this part of extreme south and southeast Shreveport. So, again, from Southern Trace up to Providence is where this is moving through. It is going to be approaching Long Lake Drive as well. This is Uri Drive that I believe you should see here across that Ellerby Road. Sorry, Uri Drive's a little bit more to the north and to the east. Ellerby Road area, again, back over here towards Village of Providence, down to Southern Trace. The circulation moving towards West Point Drive, North Point Drive, Water's Edge Circle, and again, we'll be crossing Ellerby here, close to, it looks like, Forest Creek Drive, and back here towards Leonard Road is where this circulation is located right now. Matt, let's go ahead and take a look at the debris tracker. We will see something if there is something on the ground, and at least right now, not seeing anything coincident with the debris tracker that would indicate anything has touched down. But keep in mind, these little spin-ups along the line, they can be brief, but they can do some damage, and especially since this is going through these neighborhoods here from Southern Trace up to Providence, I want you to be headed into your shelter. Here's the latest scan update with the wind velocity. Still seeing the circulation showing up here a little east of Southern Trace. And again, this is going to be crossing Ellerby and eventually Uri Drive. This is Louisiana Highway 1. That's what Uri Drive becomes as you head out of town. So again, in this area from Providence to Southern Trace towards Uri or Louisiana Highway 1, I need you to be headed to your tornado shelter for, again, the possibility that we may get a little spin-up tornado that does touch down in association with this thunderstorm moving on through. Weather Service, confirming circulation is near the southern loop. Again, we can still see it here. Matt's tracking it out. If we get a little tornado that spins up, that is where it is going to develop. So again, moving through this southeastern corner of Caddo Parish, near Providence and near the southern loop. It is going to be tracking across the river on into Bossier Parish. Here's the time of arrival in some areas. Elm Grove, it'll be close, around 12:43. Haughton, this would be coming in around 12:57, so about 30 minutes from now. And if this were to hold together, Doyline around 1:05. Typically, though, eventually the strong wind pushing out away from the storm kind of cuts off the circulation, which is why along these lines of storms, these spin-ups are usually fairly brief. They don't last for prolonged periods of time, but sometimes they can last a little bit longer than that. But again, zoomed in very close here. In fact, Matt, let's go in a little bit closer. Basically where you have this little curlicue. This area between Providence Place Boulevard and Southern Trace Parkway, right over Wisterian Way. Here's Norris Ferry Road. This is where the potential for a tornado exists. So again, Providence, the Norris Ferry neighborhood there, down to Southern Trace. This is where the rotation is showing up, so you need to be in your shelter. This is going to be continuing to track its way off to the east and the northeast, so it'll be crossing near Long Lake Drive, Ellerby Road, eventually Uri Drive or LA Highway 1 there in the southeastern tip of Caddo Parish. I need you to be in your shelter. Lowest level of the building that you're in. You need to put as many walls between you and the outside as possible with this area of rotation right along the leading edge of this line of storms coming through extreme southeastern portions of Shreveport and southeastern Caddo Parish. Matt, again, let's take a look at the debris tracker. That will give us confirmation if there's something on the ground. It would appear the answer is no. But nonetheless, the rotation is there. It has the look on radar of something that could spin up a tornado. So I do need you to be headed to your shelter in these areas. It does look like the rotation has now passed you in Providence. It has moved past Southern Trace, but continuing to head across, there you see the latest update, in fact, continuing to head across the Ellerby Road area right now. Again, the rotation is showing up here, greens blowing towards the radar, reds away. So this is right along Ellerby Road right now and continuing to move its way off to the east towards Jeter Road, Robson Road. Again, this is Uri Drive or Louisiana Highway 1. This is well off, though, to the southeast LSUS in those areas, so starting to get out into more rural part here of southeastern Caddo Parish. Again, pulling away from these neighborhoods in southeast Shreveport, so some good news, but the circulation still showing up here in this part of southeast Caddo Parish. The squiggly black line here, that's the Red River, so this is going to be crossing the Red River here across Uri Drive, heading into Bossier Parish, fairly short order. Matt, let's zoom in a little closer here. I want to get some of these street names to pop up just to give folks an idea as to where this is going to be tracking. Again, LA Highway 1 or Uri Drive, Ron Bean Boulevard. This is also going to be tracking pretty close to Francis Beckham Drive, Francis Beckham Drive, Francis Beckham Boulevard. So in this part of extreme southeast Caddo Parish, then going across the river. And Matt, let's kind of move the map a little bit. I want to show you where this is going to be going into Bossier Parish. As it crosses the river. Again, LA 71, US 71 here in southern Bossier Parish. Matt, let's zoom in a little closer. I want to see if we have any neighborhoods as this crosses the river that it may be moving into. And again, this is in Caddo Parish. Let's move the map on the other side of the Red River and show you some of the streets here in Bossier Parish that are going to be impacted. Red River South, Marina Road, Kappa Sligo Road, Inman Drive, Johns Road, Viewpoint Road. This is the general vicinity in Bossier Parish where this is going to be tracking on through. The storm in Claiborne Parish, again, moving into Union County, Arkansas, so we're going to give you the all clear there in Claiborne Parish that storm has moved out. But storm does continue to produce, or at least show signs of the possibility of producing a tornado here in southeastern Caddo Parish. Again, this has now moved beyond you folks, Providence, the Norris Ferry Crossing neighborhood, Southern Trace. It is working its way, though, towards Uri Drive, LA Highway 1, which is what it basically becomes as you head out of Shreveport, crossing the Red River eventually, and then it'll be crossing US 71, pretty close to where 71 and LA 527 meet up here, southern parts of Bossier Parish. All right, Matt, let's take a look at the wind velocity again first and show you that we still have the circulation showing up here, approaching Francis Beckham Drive and LA 1 here in the southeastern part of Caddo Parish. The circulation has perhaps broadened a little bit, so some good news there. Not getting any reports that anything touched down. Again, this moved right over Norris Ferry Crossing, the Providence area, Southern Trace. We've not seen any reports of that. Newsroom, folks, if you can hear me, maybe make some calls and see if anything has been reported down there as far as any damage. So if anything did touch down, we're going to find out very soon, as it did go through fairly densely populated neighborhoods there in far southern Shreveport. Again, the circulation continues to show up here, Caddo Parish. It will be moving across the Red River into southern parts of Bossier Parish. Very likely this area rotation approaching Francis Beckham Drive and LA 1 will be passing close to US 71 and LA 527 there into the southern part of Bossier Parish as it continues in that direction. In fact, Matt, let's kind of zoom back out a little bit and do a storm track on this area of rotation that we're watching. You can still kind of see it here. Again, when we see something like that on radar, and then we also see a corresponding wind velocity signature that matches something that could be rotating, that can be a concern along these lines of storms. Again, we're tracking this area out towards the Sligo area by 12:49, next 15 minutes. If it holds together, it would reach you around Haughton, although it may pass just a little south of the center of Haughton and a little south of Doyline, but it'll be close, coming into those areas between 1 and 110. As this continues on a track, may eventually head towards Dubberly. Not included in a warning at this point. The warning does kind of stop here at Haughton in that extreme southwestern tip of Webster Parish. But it's possible, if this continues to look the way that it does on radar and we continue to see at least some velocity and some circulation showing up, that warning may be extended beyond here. But again, right now, the greatest threat is approaching LA 1, about ready to cross the Red River. We'll be hitting US 71 in LA, I believe it was 157 here where that intersects there into southern parts of Bossier Parish as this continues to head in that direction. Matt's kind of drawn in where we're seeing the rotation. Again, I think the radar is sometimes a little slow to update, so maybe a little far behind here, but starting to approach the Red River. And again, it'll be crossing into Bossier Parish, so I need you to be headed to your shelter in the event that this does produce a tornado as it continues to track off to the northeast. Another area of rotation, this one between Sligo and Haughton. Matt, let's go to, it'd be here. Let's put it first. So this is another area, possible rotation. Matt, let's go ahead and go back to the reflectivity, and you can kind of see that here. Again, if you remember what we were tracking there and what we continue to track, southern Caddo Parish, just a little bit of a push out of the storm and a little bit of an indentation north of that. Matt's kind of drawing it in. Again, this is some wind being pushed out associated with the rain and thunderstorm activity, and then the inflow going into the storm. So maybe another little area of rotation developing here. When we talk about these quick spin-ups, this is what we mean. Quick spin-ups along line of storms, this is typically how they develop. They don't last for a prolonged period of time, but they can develop. They can drop a brief tornado. Usually these tend to be lower end of the scale, but they can still do damage. So again, another area of rotation showing up here. Matt, let's zoom in a little closer and show you approximately where this is. Weather Service indicating, again, reinforcing what I'm saying, the threat of possible quick spin-up tornadoes in these little appendages along this line. So here's another one. This is Sligo Road. This is Haughton. So, and this is Interstate 20. And the Haughton exit there, and that's where this little area rotation is showing up. There's not a warning on this. It's not quite to the point that a warning is being issued, but again, another spot that we're watching. So just want to give you a heads up here. I know we've talked about Haughton with the other storm, but you folks in Haughton to Doyline, I want you to go ahead just in case this spins up quickly, and sometimes the warnings come out on these quick spin-ups after the spin-up has already happened. So if you're here from Haughton to Doyline along 164, this is tracking your way. I want you to go ahead and head to your tornado shelter to be on the safe side in case a warning is issued on this. Lowest level of the building that you're in, as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Again, this little appendage here could be a little quick spin-up developing just a few miles off to the southwest of the center of town in Haughton. All right, Matt, let's go back down to the actual tornado-warned area, which we continue to see pushing now across the Red River on into southern parts of Bossier Parish. And we still have this little appendage here, what we call a notch in the line. That's basically what it looks like. You got kind of the line, and then you got a little cutout. And that cutout develops as a result of some circulation in the storm. So we're still seeing that here. Again, it doesn't appear to be particularly strong, but keep in mind, these little spin-ups usually are not strong tornadoes, but they can do damage. They can knock trees down. That's bad news if you have tall trees next to your house or you're in a mobile home. So they can do significant damage. So I do need you to be seeking shelter for, again, that possibility. Does look like the circulation is now in Bossier Parish, so Caddo Parish in the clear out of this storm for the possibility of a little spin-up. But again, that's what we got here now, approaching US 71, perhaps a little spin-up tornado that may be developing here in the vicinity of US 71, LA 527. We got over here in Bossier Parish, Smith Road. We've got, looks like Willis Road, Fern Road, Capless Sligo Road. This is the area that we could get a little bit of a spin up. And farther off to the east, just to give you a heads up here, if you're over here towards Jones Estate Road, LA 157 area, Hogan Road, and also it looks like Mulberry Lane. This is where this area of rotation is going to be moving through. So pretty much anywhere here close to LA 527 in southern Bossier Parish. This is where this is going to be tracking. I need you to head to your shelter. Likely the area of rotation will pass pretty close to where LA 527 and LA 157 meet in that part of Bossier Parish. So these are, again, the possibility for some quick spin-ups. So we got the one here heading into southern Bossier Parish. Let's go back up a little closer to the Haughton area. Again, a little notch or a little appendage here along this line, indicative of some rotation. And as we take a look at the wind velocity, we'll see that here. Again, the greens are blowing toward the radar, reds are blowing away. You get this sense of counterclockwise circulation approaching LA 157, a little north of Sligo Road, and just a little south of Interstate 20, moving into the Haughton area, especially from center of Haughton, downtown Haughton, and points southward. And again, this would be tracking towards Doyline. So anywhere from Haughton to Doyline, around LA 164. And I've traveled this way before, going to Doyline a couple times, so I know there are quite a few homes here located in this part of Haughton. Need you to be headed to your shelter. We don't officially have a tornado warning associated with this area of rotation. The warning that's in effect has to do with the other area of rotation to the south of here. But I do want you to head to your shelter, because these little quick spin-ups are just that. They're quick spin-ups. They'll develop fast, usually don't last very long, and sometimes they happen before the tornado warnings are even issued. So I do want you to seek shelter here, Haughton to Doyline, for this storm. And again, if you're in southern parts of Bossier Parish, you need to be in your shelter along in the vicinity of LA 257, LA 157 for our other storm that is tornado warned right now. So again, we've got these two spots. One just southwest of Haughton, a little notch here along the line. Another little notch that is moving into southern Bossier Parish, again, around LA 257, LA 157, and US Highway 71, that area of Bossier Parish. Possibility that we do get a couple quick spin-ups out of this line of thunderstorms. So I need you to be in your shelter in these areas. Matt, let's kind of reset the view. We are getting some updates as well on the severe weather threat. In fact, as we're kind of resetting the view here, let's go over to meteorologist Austin Evans, starting to trim that tornado watch area. Austin.
Yes, Jeff, the tornado warning has been modified since we last saw it. Still goes to 4 o'clock for all of these counties and parishes in hot pink, but as you can see, only one county in southwestern Arkansas currently under warning, under watch, that is Columbia County. A lot of our East Texas counties have been shaved off, but still does include our deep East Texas counties, Nacogdoches County, Shelby County, and Panola County. Those are still included in the watch. All of our Louisiana parishes still included in the watch. However, as we see this line continue to move, we are going to see the risk of a tornado move with it. So yes, we do have a good couple of hours left on the tornado watch in Louisiana or in the Arklatex. However, we're going to see this continue to happen. Now about half of the region not under tornado watch at this time. They have been taken out of it from the latest update. We will continue to let you know when counties and parishes get shaved off of that watch. As of right now, all parishes still under the watch. Columbia County still under that watch, and our farthest southern East Texas counties still under the tornado watch until 4 o'clock or until further notice. Jeff?
All righty, thank you, Austin. We gave you the first alert a moment ago that we could get a tornado warning issued from Haughton to Doyline. That indeed has happened, so new tornado warning has come out for this area of rotation showing up just southwest of Haughton. So I already gave you the first alert, Haughton to Doyline, to head to your shelter. If you've not done that yet, you need to. Tornado warning now officially in effect in association with this area of rotation. And I will say, just checking the latest update here, this looks more significant than the southern area of rotation into southern Bossier Parish. In fact, the National Weather Service says they're going to let the tornado warning go away on that storm, but are going to reissue a severe thunderstorm warning, with it looking like more of a damaging wind threat as opposed to a tornado threat. Again, right along LA 164 between Haughton and Doyline, need you to be in your shelter as we continue to see this little appendage, this little notch, even what looks like a little bit of a hook echo along this line of storms. This is indicative of a quick little spin-up tornado. May not be strong tornado, but it can still be a damaging tornado, even if it is a relatively weak one. Again, the rotation is showing up here just a little southeast of Haughton. Let's zoom in a little tighter on this, Matt, and we will get some street names that are going to pop up here in this vicinity of Haughton. Chestnut Road Camp Zion Road, Jones Road. This is where the circulation is moving through, near and southeast of Haughton. Over here towards Doyling, it's going to be tracking towards Stewart Trail, perhaps going right through the center of town there in Doyling. Some other street names popping up here. Looks like Cross No Road. Pearl Harbor Avenue, again, perhaps going right through the center of Doyling. I need you to be headed to your shelter as this storm, with the possibility of a tornado, is continuing to track in your direction. Just trying to check here, no updates. The tornado warning for Claiborne Parish, I know you may have got that alert on your phone, but we talked about that when it came out, that it was barely in Claiborne Parish and headed into Union Parish. That tornado warning has been canceled for Claiborne Parish in Louisiana. It does continue for Union County, Arkansas, but that is just outside of our coverage area. Again, the circulation continued to show up here. Here's the center of Haughton. LA 614 and LA 164. It is very close to that intersection here. Coming across basically Bossier into Webster Parish, Doyling right in the path. So again, this is going to be coming through Pilgrim Rest Road, on through the center of Doyling, it appears, based on this current track off to the north and to the east. And again, the possibility that we could get a quick but brief little tornado spin up out of this storm as it continues to come on through. Matt, let's go back here, look at the regular radar, which often shows things a little bit better and clearer than even looking at the wind velocity. And we've got this little notch here. The way this happens, wind is coming out from the storm, pushing out. And as it encounters the wind, which is being pulled into the storm, you get this area of rotation that can sometimes develop along these line of storms. When we talk about these spin-up tornadoes, and we specifically mentioned that yesterday in our forecast, that the tornado threat would mostly be confined to maybe these little spin-ups along a line of storms. This is exactly how they form. Again, they're not always long-lasting. In fact, the other storm that prompted the tornado warning that went through southern Caddo Parish, around Southern Trace, Norris Ferry Crossing, that's already kind of fizzled out. That's here. But really, this is now looking more like just some strong wind. We're not seeing this little, best way to describe it, you know what a curly fry looks like from Arby's? That's kind of what it looks like. A little curlicue that develops here. We're not seeing that anymore on this particular part of this line of storms earlier. So that tornado warning has been allowed to go away, has been replaced with a severe thunderstorm warning, so there still could be some strong wind gusts associated with that. But again, this is most concerning here, southeast of Haughton, as we continue to see a little swirl in the atmosphere, indicative of perhaps a brief tornado spin-up. Matt, let's take a look at the debris tracker, just see if there's anything coincident with this that would indicate something on the ground, not really seeing it. We would, because this is moving through an area with homes, and this part of Bossier Parish out towards Haughton, there are a lot of trees. So if something was on the ground, we would be picking up debris on the debris tracker. We're not seeing that, so some positive news here. But I still want you to be in your shelter if you're in Doyling. Haughton proper, the threat has passed. Doyling, not quite yet. Also going to watch towards Minden, because this is headed your way. Officially, I'll have to look and see. The warning does include you folks in Minden. Yes, it does. So we're going to track this out. This is going to give you an idea. Again, Doyling in the next few minutes. Minden, you are in the path, coming up here in about almost 20 minutes into Taylor by 1:21. With this storm, again, the possibility of a tornado. These usually are not long-lived, though, as I say. So Minden, we're watching for you. Think about where you're going to go if you need to head to shelter. Again, over here towards Doyling in particular, need you to be in your shelter as this storm is still showing indications that it could spin up a brief tornado. Eventually, what happens with this sort of setup is the strong gust of wind that is helping to create the spin eventually cuts off the inflow going into the storm that is creating the rotation. So that's why these things usually don't last for a prolonged period of time. But again, at least briefly, they do have the potential to produce a brief spin-up tornado. Excuse me, and that is what we're seeing here. Again, just outside of Haughton, We're going to zoom in a little closer. I'll have Matt put the wind velocity back up here, and we'll show you where the rotation is relative to the way it looks here on radar. And you can kind of see here, it's a little messy, but nonetheless, rotation in the vicinity. There's the latest update. I think this will show it a little bit clearer. Matt, let's zoom back out slightly, and then we'll zoom back in. You can see the rotation here. The red is a little area of wind blowing out away from the storm. Again, the green's blowing back toward the storm. So again, right along LA 164, heading into the town of Doyline is where we are seeing, again, that circulation showing up with this thunderstorm. And again, the possibility this may drop a brief tornado as it moves through town. So I need you in your shelter right now in Doyline if you are not already there. This is going to be crossing LA 164. In fact, it's kind of right there on that state highway. It'll be moving north of there and eventually heading its way up towards Minden if this continues to continue on that track. Just seeing here about any updates. They're talking about Union County in Arkansas. So no updates on this storm. Again, we're still not getting any reports that anything touched down in Caddo Parish with that storm that moved through the Norris Ferry Crossing area, Providence, down to Southern Trace. So some good news as we're not seeing any reports of anything that touched down there. So sometimes these do produce weak tornadoes. They don't always. But again, that potential does remain. Right now, heading through Doyline. So if you're in Doyline, I need you to be in your shelter until the storm has passed. Matt, let's kind of reset the view. I know we've been kind of focused closely here on these couple areas of storms, but just want to show you what the overall situation is. We've got these lines of storms basically becoming one solid line moving on through. And again, along these lines of storms, there's enough wind shear in the atmosphere. The atmosphere is just unstable enough that we can get these small areas of spin to develop. And right now, we've got one of those moving into Webster Parish, right near Doyline, and again, going to be tracking towards Minden. Minden, I'd just go ahead and seek shelter if you are in Minden, lowest level of the building that you're in. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. The storm will be arriving in the next 15 to 20 minutes and could continue to have a tornado threat with it as it moves on through. Severe thunderstorm warning here in the yellow for the remainder of Bossier Parish and for portions of Bienville Parish. That does include you in Ringgold. Maybe some strong wind, could be upwards of 60 miles per hour coming in with that part of this line of thunderstorms. We do have, again, more severe weather outside of our area near El Dorado, Arkansas. And then the storms kind of snake back here to DeSoto Parish, back into Shelby County in Texas. Nothing in this direction at the moment looks particularly strong or organized. There is some moderate to heavy rainfall in association with this activity, but nothing that looks particularly ominous. Certainly the strongest area of storms is here now moving into Webster Parish. So for the moment, this is our greatest concern about severe weather. Couple issues here. One is going to be for some damaging wind gusts, maybe of 60 miles per hour. And again, where we get this little notch, this little appendage near Doyline, that is where we have a little circulation showing up along this line and where we could get maybe a brief tornado spin up that develops here and touches down and does a little damage. So now from Doyline to Minden, I need you to be in your shelter. Matt, let's track this out, just get an update here. That you can see the circulation showing up right around Doyline. And again, tracking its way off to the north and to the east. Sibley, probably going to miss you just to the north. But again, this is going to come right into Minden, especially I think the south end of Minden, 109. So again, you've got about 15 minutes or so before it arrives. If it holds together, there's a chance it probably won't, as again, these don't last for a particularly long period of time. But if it were to hold together to make it into Claiborne Parish, it would arrive in Athens around 1:30 or so. But our greatest concern is from near Doyline towards Minden. I need you to be in your shelter in those areas. The tornado warning has been canceled for Bossier Parish. I mentioned that a moment ago, that it's out of Bossier Parish. So Bossier Parish, you're in the clear. Caddo Parish, you're in the clear. Right now, Webster Parish is of most concern with this particular thunderstorm moving on through. Again, from Doyline to Minden is our greatest potential for seeing a tornado. The tornado warning, though, does extend to the south. So, Matt, let's just go back south along this line just to see if there's anything else. Again, Doyline is where we have circulation. The remainder of this part of this line of storms, I think, is more of a damaging wind threat. So the tornado potential here from Doyline to Minden, I know you're under a warning here, Sibley down to Heflin. At least from this area rotation, I don't think there's a tornado threat. If anything, what we're going to be watching is maybe some strong wind coming on through. Here's the latest radar update. It's not looking as defined. So hopefully what's happening here is kind of the wind or that gush of outflow coming away from the storm is maybe starting to cut off the circulation here. Still see it in the vicinity of LA 164, southeast of Doyline. But I do believe, just based on the latest radar scan, it's maybe beginning to fall apart compared to what it did look like a little bit earlier. Austin, let's see, you've got the tower cam pulled up. Let's go ahead and go over to Austin for a live look outside at the storms. Austin?
Jeff, this is, yes, a shot from our KSLA tower camera. It is on site here on Fairfield Avenue, and this is looking to the west, and as you can see here, there is some brightness in the background, and as I pull up radar, we're going to see that line of thunderstorms that has passed through Shreveport. And I'll zoom in on Shreveport here just briefly. We are seeing, yes, still cloud cover as we're looking in that westerly direction. But as you can see here, a whole lot of a large void, nothing in terms of precipitation, nothing in terms of thunderstorms looking west at this time. We are not going to quite give you the all clear yet for Shreveport, especially as these storms continue to move through portions of some of the neighborhoods in southeastern Shreveport. But taking a look at that camera, taking a look at that radar, does look like the end may be on the way for downtown Shreveport. And that also would go for Bossier City as the storms continue to move in that easterly direction. Still got a whole lot of rain over Stonewall, Louisiana, and moving down to the south, Keechee, seeing plenty of heavy rain, Longstreet, Logansport, continuing to see moderate to heavy rainfall. So we're not done yet, but we do have at least the potential to see the end of the tunnel here. And Jeff, I believe you've got new batteries in your packs, and you can continue on. Jeff?
All right, yeah, thank you very much, Austin. Continue to watch these storms. The one between Doyline and Sibley is, again, one area of circulation, although I will say, and as we continue to monitor these storms, it appears that that rotation is kind of going away. In fact, the pronounced notch or appendage along this line of storms that, as I described earlier, looking like the end of a curly fry, it's not looking like that any longer. And checking out the wind velocity here, really, the rotation has pretty well fizzled with this, it would appear, based on the latest radar scans. Matt, let's kind of go along the line, though, and just see what else we've got going on. So I think the threat here for a tornado is diminishing for the storm coming into Minden. Tornado warning, though, still remains in effect, and at the very least, it's possible that this storm may produce some wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour moving into Minden. So still important that you shelter, you get into the middle of the building that you are until the storm has passed. So even if the tornado threat, which appears to have diminished, still may have a damaging wind threat. Watching this little appendage here, this little notch moving into Bienville Parish. So Matt, let's just take a closer look here. Perhaps some rotation. We see what it looks like on the regular radar view, which is tracking the rain. Let's look at the wind velocity and see what we're seeing here. And nothing incredibly alarming, perhaps a little bit of circulation. Again, the red's away, greens are towards, so maybe a little bit. But this is not, at this point, looking particularly alarming for a spin-up tornado. In fact, where we're seeing that isn't even matching up with this appendage, so this may just be kind of the way the leading edge of this part of this line of storms looks, as opposed to being formed that way because of some rotation here, because the two are not lining up. But we're going to continue to watch that as well. Severe thunderstorm warning is in effect for this part of Bienville Parish, including in Ringgold to Jamestown, for again the possibility for some strong wind gusts coming on through. We'll go along the line here, back into Caddo, Bossier, and DeSoto parishes. Again, very heavy rainfall, as Austin was talking about. North Bossier to Benton. You have finally seen the rain come to an end with just some lingering light showers, so some good news there. Even downtown Shreveport, I'm not even hearing the rain outside our studio anymore. Looks like the worst of the weather in Shreveport and Bossier now confined to South Shreveport and areas of Bossier south of I-20, and likely this will be signaling an end of the severe weather potential around Shreveport and Bossier City for the remainder of this afternoon. Line does extend back here into East Texas. Center Texas, I think we can give you the all clear for severe weather. Strongest storms are to your east, near Huxley. Not expecting additional strong storm development back behind this line. And heading into Sabine County in Texas, this is kind of the tail end of this line of storms, at least here in our immediate coverage area. And there is a little rotation showing up with this storm that I saw a moment ago. So Matt, let's just take a quick look here. And south of St. Augustine, there is some rotation showing up with this particular storm. Again, the greens are blowing toward the radar. You saw the beam just come around. Reds are away. So there is some broad rotation showing up with that storm moving into Sabine County in Texas. We'll have to watch that as it tracks towards Sabine Parish as it is moving in that direction. But right now, no warnings on this storm, and it is not particularly alarming in terms of the way it looks. Let's see, a couple areas watching along the Bienville-Bossier line near Elm Grove. Possibility of something developing there. Another update here. This is about our tornado-warned storm, and I mentioned that we've really kind of lost the rotation. The Weather Service has no plans for an additional tornado warning on that storm. They're still watching an area in Union County, Arkansas as well, but specifically mentioning Webster Parish, it appears they're going to allow that warning to expire at 1:15, and that's because they're seeing what we're seeing, which appears to be that area of circulation has kind of dissipated, moving into Minden. But again, there still could be a threat for some strong wind gusts. So if you're in Minden and you've taken shelter, I encourage you to stay in shelter until the storm has passed, because there could be some strong wind coming in with that as well. We are getting a couple damage reports. Trees down southeast of Haughton. Nothing more specific, don't have an exact location. And again, that was either from maybe a brief tornado touchdown or maybe some strong wind, but that would have been the area that area of circulation tracked through, again, just a little southeast of Haughton. So a report of some trees down, no reports of structural damage, but again, when that area of circulation passed through the Haughton area, maybe a brief tornado touchdown. That, though, not confirmed, won't be confirmed until they actually go and they check and see any areas of damage. We have been monitoring, though, the tracks of these areas of rotation. Austin Evans joins me again with a look at where some of those areas of circulation have tracked through the Arklatex here in the last hour or so. Austin.
Yeah, Jeff, with that storm report, though, from the imping system, I wanted to pull up the wind shear track that did pass just to the south of Haughton and Bossier Parish, and you can see where the wind shear track lines up. And though this isn't the strongest thing in the world, you know, it's not the light blues or the purples, it's still that dark blue. We do have, that's that storm report of that tree down that was just submitted to the National Weather Service. It does line up with where we're seeing the wind shear track. Now, again, this may not have been a tornado that did touch the ground briefly and knock down a tree. It could have been just some very heavy wind, but we are at least seeing some sort of consistency with the report that was sent out just, again, to the southeast of Haughton. So this lines up with everything that we've been seeing, and as we move downstream, the wind shear really drops off after the storm passes Doyline, Louisiana. And as it continues, and yes, this product does take a while to calculate, but at this time, with the diminishing of the circulation and the movement into near Sibley, near south of Minden, we're not seeing that wind shear track continue, but we are at least seeing with that storm report there and the wind shear track that we can see some consistency of a possible tornado that might have at least briefly touched the ground. I just wanted to, I knew that I could pull up that storm report on here. Jeff?
All right, thank you very much, Austin. I do just want to update you on a couple things. I mentioned earlier that the Weather Service does not anticipate any downstream tornado warnings, so this warning in effect for Webster Parish at this point is not expected to be extended into Claiborne Parish. Again, the circulation has basically disappeared here. They're also going to be canceling the severe thunderstorm warning. In fact, you just saw it disappear for that part of Bienville Parish. So that has been canceled. The tornado warning here for Webster Parish is going to be allowed to be expired when it comes up here in 9 minutes. So they are not going to be extending that at this point in time with this particular line of storms coming through. Certainly these are the strongest storms. Approaching Houma right now, stretching back to Minden along this entire line. This is what is most intense, what is most active. So I'd say in the short term, if we get any additional severe weather threat or potential, it is going to occur here at Webster Parish, northern Bienville Parish, and into Claiborne Parish. As we go along the line here, this is the most active part of the line in terms of strong storm activity. But Matt, as we go southwest along the line, nothing is looking quite as organized here. Yes, you see some heavy rainfall. You got the orange, a little bit of red, but none of this activity across DeSoto Parish, southern Caddo, Bossier Parish is as intense or as organized as what we have going on there in Webster Parish. There is a little bit of an uptick, though, in intensity of storms coming out of Shelby County, Texas, and also moving out of Sabine County, Texas, into Sabine Parish here in northwest Louisiana. So we're going to have to keep an eye on these storms as well as they continue to track on through. Again, an update with the two tornado warnings, the one for Union County, Arkansas, the one for Webster Parish. They're not seeing any organized circulation at this time with those storms. So again, I don't anticipate that there will be new tornado warnings that come out, and in fact, the threat for tornadoes has diminished. We're going to continue to watch here. This is the big view. Line of storms from El Dorado, Arkansas to Minden, to now moving out of Shreveport and Bossier down to Mansfield, and right there north Toledo Bend Reservoir area on the Texas-Louisiana border heading into Sabine Parish. Along and east of this line is where the threat of severe weather will continue to be a possibility as we head through the next 2 to maybe 3 hours. Still looks like around 4-ish or so. Most of the storm activity and any attendant severe weather threat will have cleared our coverage area here in the Arklatex. Again, back to the north and to the west, you're done. I think Shreveport, Bossier City, there's still a little rain to go, but probably no additional severe weather concerns. Texarkana and the surrounding part of southwest Arkansas in the clear, and pretty much all of East Texas now. The extreme eastern part of Shelby County, still a strong storm threat there, but for the remainder of East Texas, we're done with any severe weather potential, and a similar story with southeastern Oklahoma there in McCurtain County. We are going to go ahead and back to regular programming. Again, the tornado warning here for Webster Parish not expected to be continued as the rotation has basically dissipated with what prompted that warning, but still plan on maybe some strong gusty wind coming on through. We're going to continue to watch the storms through this afternoon. We will track them. If there are any more tornado warnings or any more substantial potential high wind concerns coming through with the storms, we will be breaking back into coverage. In the meantime, you can track everything on the KSLA First Alert weather app. You can also get any weather alerts for your area that may come out there. And again, we will keep a close watch on storms for the remainder of this afternoon. For meteorologist Matt Jones and meteorologist Austin Evans, I'm KSLA First Alert Chief Meteorologist Jeff Castle. We'll send you back to programming, but we'll break back on air if necessary.